Exploring the unknown, from conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to this very special program. I'm your host, Aubrey Batchelor, and sailing this amazing ship of knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. Today is our third and kind of year-end finale and holiday bash of Conspiracy Sector. This is going to be the Christmas episode. We had the Halloween episode where we discussed werewolves and lycanthropy. That was very interesting, and we some pretty gruesome stories too that came across there. But I actually learned quite a bit just piggybacking off of each other and connecting dots on that episode. And then we had the Thanksgiving episode that was pretty special as well, where we delved into interesting lore about Thanksgiving. Then we, kind of traced off into the weird and strange stories surrounding Thanksgiving, and kind of learned a lot in that episode as well. I was very amazed at just everything that we kind of connected and kind of opened up and gave these different possibilities, and it kind of really makes you think. And that leads us into the Christmas episode, and I'm going to pick up and piggyback off of the Thanksgiving episode. Now is a time that you need to be extra thankful to be alive, obviously, with everything that's going on, everything that's crazy. Now more than ever, put time and effort into yourself, time and effort into your families. And when it comes to putting time and effort into yourself, grow your mind in immense ways, grow your body in immense ways, grow your spirit in immense ways. Don't let anybody drag you down. Always try to raise yourself up to a higher level, and you can achieve anything. So realize how powerful you are and what you can achieve, and nothing can drag you down. So enjoy these times, be thankful, fly high, and hey, have a good time, baby. So with that being said, we're going to dive right on into our Christmas episode. And Christmas is a jolly time. It's a time, to be thankful. It's a time of gift exchanging, see how much money you can spend on your loved ones to prove that you love them. Because once again, everything does come down to money. Come on, even gift buying. But Christmas does have a dark side, and we're going to delve into that today as well. And that would have to be the realms of Krampus. And that Krampus not, which is a celebration of this mythical beast. Krampus is known as the evil Saint Nicholas, and it's actually, it's deceived and perceived as Santa's evil partner in crime. Santa gives kindness, and well, what's the balance effect of kindness? Not so kind, evil, and that's where Krampus comes in to, take care of the naughty children. And we're going to delve into some stories, the lore of Krampus, and it's going to be pretty interesting. Chris, I don't know if you want to start off with some information on Krampus.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I'll share my screen here. And before I do that, I will get over to the Krampus Nacht article here.
I know, it's very amazing. It's a very weird celebration over there. Krampus originates in Austria in the Alpine region, and it's been celebrated for centuries, basically. And when you combine it with the lore of Santa and the traditional Christmas as we know it, it's a very different outtake, and it's a very cool combination because once again, I like to consider, the balance effect in play. Even in the holiday times, you have, a good old jolly Saint Nick that's gonna give you gifts and reward you, for good behavior. And then on the opposite end of the scale there, we have bad behavior and those children that are going to reap the rewards of not only a bad spanking, but they're going to be taken away to a demonic hell by Krampus. Now, I'm sure there was a lot of kids that were literally scared to hell because their parents were telling them this creature is going to come after you. And, just imagine a world before, all the technology that we have, just put yourself in those shoes of those children in those times, living out in the middle of nowhere, no modern anything, that would be scary as hell.
Yeah, what I find rather interesting, I know some parents thought at the time they were making this up. And I came to find out that they were being influenced to basically scare their children from beings that looked rather like this. They're reptilian-based beings that look like this. But also on the flip side of this, I used to call it Krampusnacht, the Draco holiday. But I've kind of flipped gears on that slightly because it's also bringing so much people joy now. It's actually become something happy. It may have started out scaring children, to be good, or Krampus is going to steal you in the night. Also, in some versions, he eats them, but very much like the Draco mythology and everything, it's pretty much the same. But I've discovered also if you tell children that if something is going to get them if they do something wrong, they co-create that strong enough to where they can create a monster as well. I've also come across that, but this was an interesting article I came across. Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, is a celebration that dates back hundreds of years to Europe, where it was popular in Germany. It was suppressed for years, being forbidden at times by the Catholic Church, as well as by fascists in Europe during World War II. Interest in Krampusnacht and in Krampus, the character it deals with, has grown over the past century. There has been a resurgence in Germany, particularly in the state of Bavaria, as well as the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, and Slovenia. Popularity has also increased in the United States. There's a lot of parades happening in different parts of the country over this as well. The day is based on Krampus, a mythical beast that is half demon and half goat. Characteristically similar to some creatures in Greek mythology, it has fangs, horns, cowbells on its waist, and a switch made of birch sticks meant for whipping and swatting naughty children. The harshness of its appearance is fitting, as Krampus comes from the German word krampen, which means claw. And what is interesting about this, I've also encountered satiric type of beings that look like goats or cow-like appearances, and this goes all the way back to the god Baal in, I believe, Turkish and mythology is what it is, where he also used the symbol of the bull as his symbol. And I came to find out that also it stretches over to the myths about Theseus and the Minotaur, even though that was supposed to be a child of Zeus. This also goes over to some of the myths about Baal as well. And he was considered to be a very powerful god back in the day. And he also, I believe he has likenesses in Egypt as the Apis bull. I came to find out anything that is bull or cow related tends to be Baal. And his son Molag tends to be more owl related. But the bull is more him. And it's basically the worship of him. But people have turned this around and actually made this something joyful and something to celebrate, which I find very, very fascinating. According to folklore, on the evening of December 5th, Krampus punishes children who have been bad by whipping them with his switch. He then takes them to his lair. He is the counterpart to St. Nicholas, as we said, a European gift giver who arrives the following day. He is also contrasted with Santa, who rewards those who have been good or on his nice list. Which I find interesting about Santa is what this actually came from was also a Scandinavian mythology. Santa and his reindeer. Odin also had, I believe it was an 8. It was like Santa's 8 reindeer. Also, what happened?
Isn't it amazing, how you can relate Krampus to all these other creatures that are kind of Krampus-like and Krampus-related? It's like those lower stories themselves and these creatures, they almost in a way piggyback off of each other.
They
You know,
essentially are the same thing. Think about, Odin and his eight-legged horse turned into Santa and his eight-legged reindeer. Odin's helper dwarves, the builder dwarves, became Santa's helper elves that build all of his the products and everything that he gave away. And then you have Krampus, which was also in Norse mythology. You had the dark elves, which were sometimes the mischievous opposer to Odin. So.
all right, and one's just like that. This is really quick and a perfect time to say it. It's about Icelandic trolls, and they're known as the Yule lads. And it's like Josvinjar. Icelandic is literally the hardest language on earth, I think. So, but there are 13 Icelandic trolls who each have a name and distinct personality. In ancient times, they stole things and caused trouble around Christmas time. So they were used to scare children into behaving, like the Yule cat, and like Krampus, scares children into behaving, and if they don't, come with me. However, the 20th century brought tales of the benevolent Norwegian figure Jolnissi, Santa Claus. So that's the Norwegian figure for Santa Claus, who brought gifts to children. The traditions became mingled until the formerly devilish Jolnessevenar became kind enough to leave gifts in shoes that children leave out, if they are good boys and girls, that is. So, like, there's different lores with Krampus. Also, like, if he likes fruit for offerings, or schnapps. He likes schnapps liquor, like peach schnapps, fruit schnapps, liqueurs. So if you gift him those, or gift him pies or fruit or apples, I think he enjoys. He might even say thank you and have a conversation. He won't give you a gift or anything, but he won't take you away. So in a way, him gifting you, the freedom to continue living, basically, pain free. That's the gift. So go back. I thought that would have been a perfect time to introduce the Yuletide lads.
Yeah, that's actually very, very interesting. There's also another creature in Scandinavian mythology called the Albion. And it looks very similar to Krampus as well, but it's much smaller, and it's considered to be kind of like an elf type of figure that is basically a demon type that looked like almost like a troll with hair, and it had little horns and everything, but it was much smaller, and it would actually either steal children in the night, very much like a goblin, or it would actually harm children that were actually considered to be undesirable or bad. So it goes back to the whole Krampus thing. This goes much further back to like different beings that we found about, like that come from Orion. We always, when I clear people's homes, I'm always getting rid of Draco reptilians and different Orion type of beings that also, some of them resemble some of these different creatures, like different succubus and incubus type creatures that sit on people's shoulders. Look like a little Albion.
Rodents.
Yeah.
Rodents.
Some look like rodents too, but some of these look like little goats that sit on the shoulders. I've actually seen that it's both in a sexual way that they pervert people, and then they also do this in a harmful way as well. So they hit on both sides of the spectrum.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I find that very fascinating. All these parallels with Krampus, but then at first I was irked when I found out Krampus was being celebrated, but then when I saw the energetics coming out of all of it, and it's basically almost taking the place of almost like Santa Claus, almost like Christmas, where it's starting to gain much more legitimacy. It's almost up there with Halloween and Thanksgiving and all of them, where people are actually in so much joy that they're actually converting the evil connotation of it over to something good. And ironically, they're taking Christmas and saying, this one isn't legit. And they're trying to almost turning it bad. But also, as I've said on our Interstellar Councils on Friday, and our friend Viking has said this as well, where they took the solstice, which there were pagan holidays that started on there. Then they began to capitalize it, and they switched it over to Christianity and the worship of Jesus. And they also switched it over to commercialization, which then distracted people away from the real solstice celebrating.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
which it still does. People focus on the gifts rather than on the energetics.
Mm. Just like the news today, oh, let's run this story real quick, that way we can get everybody's attention off of what's really going on and how they're being manipulated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's more. It's a big distraction. Like you also around Thanksgiving, you have Black Friday, you have the sales on
Oh
Christmas
yeah,
Eve. Well,
18 million people were trampled to death.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, and then everybody's all right. Let's pass some legislation of how everybody's going to be even more controlled while everybody's minds are taken away.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
just
trying to get people to co-create some of these more negative things, even though some of the negative things are true. They're not always to the exact extent that they're advertising them at. It might be one little thing and they overbloat it. And also, when the Dark Orions came into our reality, they set up like a certain times a year where they would try to siphon energy off of people as well. And around this time is one of the strongest. But we can also turn that around and actually realign with the real solstice. And I found that they actually offset the calendar to where we weren't hitting the right time of year for these things. Like the Samhain was one of them, and also around the solstice was one of them. The spring equinox is another one. We weren't really hitting. It was offset by about 6 weeks or so by these darker beings. So we wouldn't hit the exact times, but they knew when to do things. They kept the real timing intact. And so we're having to regain the real time to be able to actually amplify our own energies and amplify the earth energy. And that's one of the modes of trickery that took place.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I find that very, very fascinating. I don't know what else you have, Aubrey, if you want to continue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it ready here. I got a new mouse, and my mouse has a forward and a back button, and I accidentally always hit the forward and back button, so I end up
I've done that too, yeah.
yeah, I mean, still not quite used to that being on the thumb trigger there. So I seen another interesting article I think I'm gonna save.
All right.
But I want to talk just a little bit more about Krampus, and then we'll dive into a little bit of Santa here,
All right.
But yeah, Krampus is a very interesting topic. And, with it being more in the mainstream now, it's finally starting to hit the West, the Western culture here in the last, 40 years it's kind of been around. Even in the 50s, there were kind of some risky deemed in those days stamps and Christmas cards and things of that nature that were deemed not appropriate later on, that were kind of taken away, and now kind of hitting back up with it being back in pop culture and movies and just everything in the mainstream. Even Halloween, you're starting to see Krampus masks and things along that line. So the lore legend itself is picking up in the West, and people know of the creature by the name of it, more so now more than ever, I guess it would be the prime way of summing it up. But he is the Christmas demon, and this article is from Mental Floss, and anybody can just type in Krampus Mental Floss and find it, I'm sure. But who is Krampus? In Austria and across the German-speaking Alpine region, the demonic character is a crucial part of the holiday season. He's a devilish figure with long horns and a goatee beard, much like typical portrayals of Satan. You might see him posed harmlessly on a greeting card. Or reproduced in chocolates or figurines, but you might also encounter a procession of Krampuses stalking through the town laden with bells and chains, intimidating onlookers or whipping them with bundles of sticks. And I believe that name of that town is Salzburg, if I remember correctly. December 5th belongs to Krampus, and that is known as Krampusnacht. When Krampus reigns, in the real world, people might attend Krampus balls, or young men from the local Krampusgruppe might don carved wooden masks, cowbells, chains, and elaborate costumes to run through town in a Krampuslauf, which means Krampus run, frightening and sometimes beating bystanders. It's not and then they dramatize it a little bit here. I don't think they're literally beating people, but they're probably scaring people a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, yeah.
know. Don't think they'd be going through the town clubbing people to death in modern age, but
No, no.
so,
Just acting like it. Yeah, it would be a little inconvenient if they actually closed
yeah,
it.
yeah. Do I deserve an Oscar for this riveting performance? Dramatize it a little bit here, but yes, that would be a fun event to go to, though. I would like to go to it sometime in my life. I just say, hey, why not? Life's short, go to it, have fun, experience it, something different, something unique, something funky. Man, what doesn't sound fun about that?
Yeah, dress up as Krampus.
That'd be fun.
Normally, I wouldn't have done the dress up thing, but yeah, that I would probably do that for. It's almost like some of the I've heard some of the Trek geekoids sometimes freak into things like that too, where they go to these Krampus events. And also when we were in Salem, Massachusetts, when we first went there around Halloween, I saw people also dressing up as Krampus and Krampus-like figures there as well.
Well, I'm just gonna combine Krampus with Santa here real quick, and then I'll lead into the Santa story. And through your conversation, you just sparked my mind a little bit. There's also this other thing that I would like to try to find if I can remember. It's a very amazing story, and we might be able to relate it to Krampus. I just made that connection just right now, but I got save that for a little hopeful surprise towards the end of the episode.
Okay.
But here, Krampus, like we said, kind of pals around with Santa, and that's what it says here in this paragraph. Originally, Krampus was a purely pagan creation said to be the son of hell from Norse mythology. And real quick, even though it says that it's kind of an Austrian Alpine region, Germanic, Norse, pagan creature, the real reason it's saying all these different names is because nobody's really sure where it originated from. There's not one
speculate.
And the creature just kind of took over everywhere. So was it true? Was it a lore? Was it? And one of the stories that might be true, I can relate to evidence if you want, is the surprise story I'm talking about at the end of the episode. I just remembered there was an experience that happened at one time that's well documented, but I got to try to use my brain and remember. But I just made the connection that was this a Krampus sighting possibly, and nobody related it to a Krampus sighting. So hopefully I can find it can be a surprise. But going back to Santa and Krampus, the PICs, partners in crime, but he got grafted onto Christian tradition as a sidekick of Saint Nicholas in one of the particular lore legends in this particular region, similar to figures like Zwarte Piet in the Netherlands and Net Ruprecht in Germany. Hopefully I'm not butchering these names, but since the 17th century, the two have been linked in a sort of Christian massy yin-yang. With Krampus, like I said, good and evil, yin-yang balance effect right there. With Krampus as Saint Nick's dark companion. Costume figures of the two traditionally visited houses and businesses together on Krampusnacht. So there they are, the noises that you're hearing on the rooftop probably aren't just Santa's reindeer. It's probably Krampus, warning kids, better behave or else I'm coming down the chimney to get you. So that's kind of their relationship in particular in the lore. And leading up to it, we've kind of talked about a lot of Krampus so far, but to come up into modern age, I guess, if you will, like I said, it's kind of making a rise again. There was a few movies here these past few years that I know that weren't very particularly well received. People didn't enjoy them that well. I thought they were okay, something different. Who doesn't love, lore gore, if you will. It was more
like the movie Krampus and that.
Yeah. But even, like I said, costumes at Halloween, just the fact that everybody knows the name, that means everybody's more aware. They might not be super aware, but they're aware. And that's just goes to show that it's becoming more common, I guess. So you'll probably start seeing it more often. I've seen relations to it. Just on watch for it in advertisement in the future, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And see if it becomes more of a common Western thing, because obviously everybody loves gore, and Halloween's a big hit, and why not kind of give Christmas some Halloweenish vibes to pick up on a different audience and different crowd. There's always money to be always money to be made with a different audience and a different crowd. Any company that uses Krampus in the advertisements in the next 5 years, I want 1% royalty, please. I'm calling it ahead of time. 1% royalty, not greedy at all.
I even saw female Krampus one time where this female Krampus looked almost like a plant creature, but along with the goat and everything, did a really good job. I wish I could find the image of that one.
That'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
I wonder if somebody has a
yeah.
I wonder if somebody has a tattoo of it somewhere out there.
Oh, they actually do. I saw people that were involved in the Krampusnacht festival actually had arm tattoos and back tattoos of Krampus. But the interesting thing about Krampus and Santa, the whole dichotomy with them, is it's basically trying to divide people within the self by forcing them to the duality on people, like be good and you get this, be bad and you get this. But people also have to be balanced and have the right emotions for the time frame that they are actually in. You can be of a higher nature and be of a fast and higher vibration, but also you have to experience things, emotions as they come along. You can't necessarily divide the self like that. And that you can also see that as basically a dichotomy of that, the division within the self, and fear on one side and happiness and joy on the other, which people experience all of the above and all the scales in between. And also what I find fascinating is I did a channeling several years ago, actually, about from a group of beings they were basically the dwarves of Odin, and they came from a world called the World of Wheels, and they were innovators, builders, like little midget builders, basically. And in Norse mythology, they were the builders of the Bifrost and all the weapons and tools that the gods used. And like I said, with Odin, he had employed these small builders to build basically everything. And Santa in the stories, the children's stories, has his elves building everything to give gifts to people. Now, within that channeling, I ran into a dwarven person who said that mysterious gifts that show up on people's doorsteps were actually their doing, that they had actually been employed by Odin at one point a long time ago to actually do this, and the stories turned into the Santa stories. So these dwarves were actually Santas leaving mysterious sacks and mysterious gifts on people's doorstep. And there have been instances of that where people reported mysterious gifts showing up. Now, this also stretches over to some of the Sasquatch lore as well, where they leave gifts for people, and you can leave gifts for them. But there's also another creature called the goat squatch that
cool. I love hybrid creatures. I love hybrid creatures.
Yeah, it's a goat squatch that looks like a big, like Himalayan goat with the goatee, and they're upright walking goat person. Cool. Yeah, and they've been mistaken for satyrs.
And I just want to say, some of these creatures sound absolutely insane, and we know a lot of them are made up, but just think this world is a very massive place. And guess what? If somebody picked you up, a lot of people are broody and brave and ballsy, and I like not to brag, but I hopefully am one of them. I would be fearful if I was in this situation, but if somebody picked you up and dropped you in the middle of nowhere with no supplies, no food, no water, no knife, no bag, just pretend you had the right clothes for the certain elements. If you're in the Arctic, you pretend that, but nothing to go along with it. You had to survive. Would that not be scary? That would be scary. And I know that there's a lot of deemed natural creatures out there, but this world's a very massive place, and there's so much hidden everything, hidden creatures, hidden treasure, hidden crimes, hidden dead bodies. A lot of it's amazing, like I said, hidden plants, hidden animal life, hidden everything in this planet. Look at all the ocean creatures that are still deemed, out there and not known of, and the plant life that's deemed out there and not known of. That's where I like to take things back into like the Voynich manuscript. That's one of the most interesting books that's ever been created in the entire world. Why go through all that elaboration just to be a crap creation? That had to be something. Somebody took time and effort and dedication to create that book. I don't think that somebody would waste their life doing that unless that they were utterly insane, which could be a possibility, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think
Somebody.
it's an insane thing. No, I
Yeah,
think it's a catalog from other worlds and other planets and other dimensions.
very well could be. That's why the alien looking kind of plant life. It's just a very interesting topic. We'll have to do just an episode on the Voynich
Manuscripts, yeah.
Incidentally enough, I tried looking for a replica book of it, and I found one, but it was like $300, and I didn't want to spend that much money on it. Maybe someday, whenever you have some extra cash lying around, but just to go out and buy that, I don't think I just need to go out and buy that. I got enough going on right now. So all I need to do is start trying to only get 6 hours of sleep and drop it to 2 hours of sleep so I can dedicate 4 hours to studying the Voynich manuscript at least, just to even somewhat understand it. But yeah, very, very interesting topic, that alone as well. But and you never know. Watch it. It's Christmas time. Watch there be like a mythical mistletoe in the Voynich manuscript somewhere that give you like superhuman powers of some sort or something.
That would be hilarious. Yeah.
Here we are talking, making crap up about it. In all reality, it's actually what's going on.
And imagination can be very powerful vision too, because it involves the same area of the brain as the third eye sight. So you could be even picking up on something that's deep into the Voynich manuscript.
Hey, right there, you said it. Like I said, let's go back to that. Everybody do this exercise right now. Again, do it again. Take a look around you and be serious about it. Don't be smart about it. Be serious about it. Take a look around you. You see all the man-made objects around you, all the man-made objects around you. Every one of those objects, no matter what it is, a cell phone, a table, a vehicle, a road sign, paint, whatever it is that you see that's a man-made item, was once only in the mind of the human being and then became a reality. So once everything was only just imagination and then it becomes reality. So that goes to show you that anything is a possibility and anything can be out there. And, a lot of, some of these hybrid creatures, going back to that, may sound like crap, but in all reality, there could be a lot of strange things out there. But let's even go in today's world. You don't think that there's not genetic manipulation and genetic modification going on with animals? This world ain't all sunshine and rainbows, and there's so much illicit research going on, probably. I wouldn't say illicit, everything has a purpose, it really does, but it will be deemed illicit, it will be deemed, unpractical. But everything has a purpose, even research, no matter how dark it is, probably, it might not seem right, but it's probably going on. So, watch 2021 be the unleashing of like the South Park version of Monkey Fish Frogs or something like that.
Man Bear Pig, yeah, Man Bear.
Yeah, Man Bear Pig. Gonna take over let's not give them any ideas here, okay? I don't really want to have to go. I'm gonna have to go get that 4570 Marlin I was looking at. Then that'll take down an elephant, hopefully. And if Man Bear Pig comes at me, put 3 straight Drop down, Man Bear Pig. I guess, hey, we'll have to do that at the end of the show, too. And we'll do that at the end of the show. Yeah, we'll do that. You'll see. We'll have to give predictions.
Yeah, be a prediction as to what.
For 2021, what's going to happen in 2021? But if your predictions start brainstorming now, I will, too.
Exactly.
And everybody, you start brainstorming now too if you're listening. I guess we'll just do it now. Comment your answers, what you think is going to happen in 2021. Any of your predictions, no matter what it is, what you think is going to happen in 2021. No matter what you think it is, just be kind and don't argue in the comments. Just comment what you think what you think's going to happen in 2021, no matter what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put your comments below. Also, Aubrey, your sound is a little muffled. I don't know what happened there, but
Well, it's you and I. We always have technical difficulties, do we not?
yeah, exactly. It seems to be a common thread where there's some kind of
Typical.
Yeah, typical. What's that article you wanted to present to everybody here?
Yeah, I'm just getting it ready right here. And this is kind of interesting because when we traced off, we were talking about advertisements. Okay. And this actually comes from the Coca-Cola website itself. Coca-Cola did not create the legend of Santa Claus, but Coca-Cola advertising did play a big role in shaping the jolly character we know today. Before 1931, there were many different depictions of Santa Claus around the world, including a tall, gaunt man and an elf. And interesting, this final little saying in this paragraph, there was even a scary Claus. And they have to be related to a Krampus-like creature or Krampus, I would imagine. But in 1931, Coca-Cola commissioned illustrator Haddon Sudblom to paint Santa for Christmas advertisements. Those paintings established Santa as a warm, happy character with human features, including rosy cheeks, a white beard, twinkly eyes, and laughter lines. Sudblom drew inspiration from an 1822 poem that Clement Clark Moore called a visit from St. Nicholas, commonly known as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." The Santa Claus we all know and love, that big jolly man in the red suit with a white beard. They don't always look that way. In fact, many people are surprised to learn that prior to 1931, Santa was depicted as everything from a tall dark man to a spooky-looking elf. He has donned a bishop's robe and endorsed huntsman's animal skin. In fact, when Civil War cartoonist Thomas Nast drew Santa Claus for Harper's Weekly in 1862, Santa was a small elf-like figure who supported the Union. Nast continued to draw Santa for 30 years, changing the color of his coat from tan to red. He's known for today. And that just goes back to show you how powerful imagination can be, like we were talking about. Look what his imagination did. Sparked what we know Santa Claus today as, in a way. You know, the genesis of Santa Claus, you know, when it comes to advertisements and things of that nature. But look what that led to.
Yeah, and also the co-creation of the figure. You know, what's fascinating about this is I was around a couple of children where we were trying to convince them not to go outside in the alleyway behind the house. So we basically said the monster in the pool would get them if they went near the pool at night or if they went out in the alley. What did they do? They ended up mentally basically changing the energy of the water to where there were more hauntings around the house. And so it's not always a good idea to tell kids that because they're such pure co-creators that they'll imagine things into existence. And
the high energy that kids have, the high energy.
Yeah, exactly. And they can create like that. And it was a mistake doing that because it brought in things that weren't there necessarily there before.
Weird world that we live in, and everything that we can do with our mind, body, spirit, and everything along that line. We are all very powerful beings in many different which ways, shapes, forms, facets. Different creative capabilities. But the Coca-Cola Company began its Christmas advertising in the 1920s with shopper-related ads in magazines like the Saturday Evening Post. The first Santa ads used a strict-looking Claus in the vein of Thomas Nast. In 1930, artist Fred Minzen painted a department store Santa in a crowd drinking a bottle of Coke. The ad featured the world's largest soda fountain, which was located in the deep department store of famous bar company in St. Louis, Missouri. Minzen's painting was used in print ads that Christmas season, appearing in the Saturday Evening Post in December in 1930. That's how it kind of gets its, Christmassy origin. And, obviously this leads into Coke advertising it, and that leads the shape and the image of the Santa, especially in an advertisement, which also the new Santa that we know of today, the jolly man that, we see of today on the Coke cans, was based on a salesman, says here. People loved the Coca-Cola Santa images and paid such close attention to them that when anything changed, they sent letters to the Coca-Cola company. One year, Santa's large belt was backwards, perhaps because Sudblom was painting via a mirror. Another year, Santa Claus appeared without a wedding ring, causing fans to write asking what happened to Mrs. Claus. So there's some faults behind the jolly old man, too, I see, when it came to the advertisement. But yeah, through the ups and downs, that's what led in today. And in 2001, the artwork from Sublom's 1963 painting was the basis for an animated TV commercial starring the Coca-Cola Santa. The ad was created by Academy Award-winning animator Alexander Petrov. So that kind of gives you a little lore history lesson on the evolution of advertisement of Santa Claus with the Coca-Cola industry. It's kind of an interesting little tool, and just look what that's done for Coke. You know, Coke was bound to be a big company anyhow, but there's no doubt that this Christmassy creative advertisement campaign definitely helped them as a business, you know, especially during those times, the war times, the 50s, 60s, that they were prime time for Coke to grow, and they took every advantage. And the Christmas pursuit and the creation of Santa and the utilization of that probably had to help them in immense ways. So kind of a neat little story like that. And even though they have GMO high fructose corn syrup, who doesn't love a good Coke every now and then, I suppose.
I still drink Diet Coke every now and again, which is actually worse. So
yeah, probably so. But oh well, either sugar or no sugar. That's your options, I guess. Sugar, no sugar.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm in the mood for
like
today.
every now and again too. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, that basically sums that up. We got Krampus and Santa out of the way. Is there anything you want to add when it comes to kind of Christmassy creatures?
Christmassy creatures. Well, I've actually seen like different, of course, different gnomes, different elves, different variations on that theme before. Where even recently, we talked in the previous episode about like the those little midget, Isaac would call puke midgets. You know, and we talked about them actually being just as bad as like some of the old Krampus myths. You know, and also it goes back to different fairy-like beings said to be stealing children in the night that goes over to alien abduction. That basically matches different things to alien abduction. I've seen, even recently, saw little creatures that actually would sit on people's shoulders and actually steal energy from them, steal objects from them. They look like little elves and they're kind of hunched over. I'm thinking this also goes along with the Krampus mythology. And there's also a nice counterpart that actually lives in trees as well. There's a good counterpart that actually they just hang out in trees and they basically guard an area of the forest or something like that. And also, this goes back to some of the things that are being said about some of the cryptids and stealing people, basically causing some of the missing people cases, which are really some military factions and corporate arms, but sometimes they're blaming cryptids. But in the past, some cryptids were blamed for stealing people in the middle of the night. Now that could also be an episode for the missing people at some point in that respect. But I know Isaac traditionally comes at the end of our episode, so we'll see if he actually comes through this time to actually talk about it. Because I've been being bugged a little bit while we were sitting here, so more likely to have a humorous connotation to it, but because he knows a bit about some of the origins of some of these things. So and I have an album channel to this Dark Crystal right here.
Sweet, that's nice looking.
Yeah, I keep it outside to cleanse it. After I'm done.
Sunbathe.
Sunbathe, and it's been really cold recently, and this thing was frozen to the ground when I got it this time. So,
and it's weird how crystals, when you mess with like the temperature, it does give them a different energy, doesn't it? And it's weird how they retain their temperature, on each end of the spectrum. It's very.
That's another thing they can do is on crystals and stones too. That would be great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the sky's the limit there too. There's so many things. Oh God, I can't start talking about all that. I'm going to be fantasizing about trying to go dig for them and wishing, hoping I had the time and hoping I had the resources and the manpower and 4 or 5 people to go do it.
All that. Yeah. Yeah. So Isaac, did you want to come through this morning? Okay. Give me just a moment. Yeah. Yeah, he enjoys this format with the both of us. So yeah. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, through the crystal. Yeah, you know the routine. All right. This thing's like a block of ice trying to keep my hand on it because it's been outside for a week. So
Cold.
yeah. Um, okay. This is an interesting topic because, as he has said here, the celebration of Krampusnacht and that of your Christmas seem to be the yin and yang of your holiday season because of the fact that the dualistic type of situation that you find yourselves in is actually coming more to a close. This is why you are actually seeing Krampus not to be more happy, and this is why you're seeing some instances of Christmas be slightly more depressing and more commercialized than ever before. You see the role reversal that is actually taking place here. You're actually going to continue to see these pendulum swings. You want to actually see a prediction for the years to come. You will actually see the critical mass of commercialization, and you will actually begin to see the tapering off of some of that commercialization in favor of the true holidays and the true beliefs and the true essence of the season and the holidays. Krampus, an interesting figure, actually also is related to the dark elves of mythology in your Norse mythology, also related to different Babylon figures. You see, Odin back in the day actually did have a small, as you would say, conflict with the dark elves, and one was even his advisor at one time that actually betrayed him, you see. So therefore, there was a dualistic seed, as you would say, that was planted in the belief system. Later on, Odin was depicted as your Santa Claus in some parts of the history, and also the Krampus was said to eat children in the middle of the night. This is also attributed to draconian abductions and alien abductions, where children disappear and are exchanged with what you know of as a changeling, or as he calls them, an inborn, or some kind of clone figure. But there are draconian forces beneath your feet in the inner earth that do steal people just for the sustenance of the meat and of the essence or the energies. This is actually a partially well-known fact, but it is not necessarily well known is that both the good and the bad sides were actually bastardized by the true darkness that is out there to actually cause a schism within your society. This is why it is more apt to find the joy and the balance within all of these holiday celebrations, no matter the iconography and the imagery. The energy of the iconography of like either draconian or esoteric forces are actually waning and actually are gaining more of a good connotation. But it was actually the Draco's wish that people would focus on their image as more of a godly figure. This has actually changed because of the energies that are currently changing. And eventually you'll be able to display any imagery out there and not necessarily conjure some evil, dark force, you see. This was the plan all along for the energetics. This gains more choice for the people as to what they find joy within. So at this point, I will take questions.
Yes, Isaac, what do you think the evolution of Krampus will be from here on out? The future of Krampus, how do you think it'll evolve?
It will evolve as a more of a joyful holiday. Eventually, in time, it will be recognized along with your Halloween as not necessarily a national holiday at first, but it will gain more prominence as part of your holiday rotation, very much like your other holidays, like your Jewish holiday of Hanukkah and whatnot. In the future, Krampus and the imagery will be revered, just like your Santa Claus imagery is, and with equal fervor. In this, that people will begin to recognize that entire season as one massive energetic season. This is exactly, it goes back to the bastardization of your calendar and the offset of your true solstice and your true holiday season, you see. In this, the commercialization will wane for Christmas, and it will be balanced across the board over to Krampus. You will actually begin to start seeing more toys, action figures, and you will begin to see the cards once again. You will start to see Krampus in more shows and more depictions of Krampus in more of a kind, benevolent way. Some people will believe this is trickery by the draconian forces to gain more favor, and they would be partially correct. But in this, Krampus will end up becoming a joyful figure that no longer scares children, but they will actually want to be able to utilize the figure as more of a costume figure, very much like your Darth Vader is treated now, you see. From your Star Wars movies, he was one of the most evil characters of all time, was he not? This is how Krampus was treated, but yet people venerate Darth Vader with more of a joyful and more of a happy connotation. So this will actually continue to evolve further into something that is very much how some of your people venerate Christmas now.
Very interesting. What now let's jump back into the past. We went to the future, and now let's go to the past. Don't we all love the past? Tell me, I know that in the past, the legend that originated out of Austria, it had different combination creatures, you know, ones that could be related to Krampus. What are some other creatures that could be related to Krampus that you have information about that can kind of piggyback off of the Krampus lore and legend, I guess, if you will?
This is actually quite interesting. In the time that people were perpetuating the Krampus mythology and scaring the ever-living crap out of their children, there was indeed a creature or set thereof of more goblin-like beings that were actually perpetuating the influx of that fearful energy since they absorb it. They're very much like the draconian forces, but they do resemble a goat. They do have both forward and backwards legs. Backwards ones like goats, like cloven hoof, and actual feet like human feet. There's two variations of these you see, and some of them run in clans and in groups under your inner earth. Some see these creatures as more time thieves, whereas they steal potential energy from an unsuspecting victim, stagnating their life and happy pursuit, you see. Hence the beginning of the fear mongering, as you would call it, in the beginning, and the fear and scare tactics for the children. But these particular beings can also come in white, very much like snow elfy type of figure, or they could come in a dark navy blue, like your dark elves in Scandinavian mythology. They also can come in a black figure with hair or with no hair. And they can actually walk in a more hunched over way, very much like a rodent. Some people would believe them to be a rodent and actually saw these. Some people have also associated with some of these with your chupacabra mythology, but they're actually two separate creatures. One is more reptilian, and the other one is more mammalian, based with some reptilian traits and goblin-esque traits. These were creatures that were most prolific in that area of Austria in that particular time frame.
Very interesting. Now let's focus on a little bit of the good. Is there any creatures that can, not Santa Claus, but can be related to Santa Claus? Ones that spread joy, ones that spread, you know, love instead of hate and destruction and brutalness, I guess.
Yes, as he has said, there are certain dwarven beings that actually walk amongst you currently and can actually make their way to your world in certain times of the year, very much like as your solstice. Certain portals and certain downloads of information can open up, and certain threads and nexus points and dimensional openings can open up. And your solstice time, also within your Samhain time, you see. These particular beings had a world or a moon that orbited ancient Asgard back in the days of Asgard and Maldek, which were roughly 500,000 years ago. After the destruction of Maldek, which is your asteroid belt, they actually were able to move their moon world into another frequency and began to actually innovate ways on trying to help mankind. Eventually, as time passed, they began to reintegrate into your culture, and also they maintain their own world, which still exists to this day. It is called the World of Wheels. In this particular innovation world, it is more like you would regard it as more of a steampunk meets Christmas looking world, or like an early 1900s, late 1800s visage. These particular beings actually can fly in small dimensional spaceships and actually leave gifts within your particular vicinity or particular way. In most of the time anymore, they actually help open up the different avenues of advancement for you if you ask for them as more of a gift. Opening up avenues of your timeline, you see. That's another method of innovation, since they can't always physically be standing within your presence, but yet they also have also done so. Very much like the creatures that I've before mentioned that actually steal time away from people. These beings can actually give it back in a meaningful way, you see, helping you open up that avenue of innovation and creativity within yourselves, even though there are no real beings that are the representations of all of these connotations, except elements of earth, air, fire, water, and space, and other areas. These particular beings do assist in that area. They can give you physical gifts. They can appear as also tradesmen within your galactic trade venue, where they can actually trade with people, and they will in the not too distant future. And they will also help with people with areas of music and other astrological innovations, such as astronomy and the rotations of planets and stars. These people can also remind people of what they feel they have lost within themselves. This is actually what is currently happening with this world. They are projecting an ether, as it were, of love, compassion, creativity, and innovation towards your world, since some point recently, it's been harder for them to appear to people or harder for them to physically be around. So they had to actually more or less help manipulate some of the energetics to send kindness your way.
Interesting. In closing, Isaac, you got a closing message for everybody for this holiday season, this Christmas season, and New Year's?
Yes, this in light of all that is taking place within your culture, I would have to say the most uplifting message that I can give is be yourself, be creative, and do not war with your neighbor based on differences of ideology, even though there are some that are actually right and some that are actually programmed out there. Do not treat your fellow man as lepers. Do not treat them as lesser and treat yourself greater than anyone else, you see. Do not see yourself as above and them below, them stupid or unawakened, and you as awakened, even though there are some going through a greater awakening process and some that are slower at it. This does not necessarily mean they are crippled in some fashion. They are on their path and you are on your own. So therefore, honor the time of the season and see everyone as equals and see everyone in brotherhood. You will definitely see your culture advance much further when judgment and all of that and hatred are actually eliminated from the game board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Boom, boom, baby.
Yeah, that was actually very interesting. Yeah, he's one of the only ones left that can actually, come through all the time. We do the Stellar Council every Friday. Viking Conrad and I do that every Friday. But Isaac is one of them that's actually able to stick around more often, and he actually became almost the mascot of Conspiracy Sector because if you could see him, he's actually human with red hair and has like a red beard, but he also has taken the appearance of like an ant person or a bug person too, as like a cover. And he knows a lot of the ancient history, and he remembers a lot of his past life expressions and everything. But he works around different military forces and different corporate forces to try to raise the energy around them. Kind of like a jolly Saint Nick figure with like red hair, kind of like a Father Christmas almost.
Well, I actually, real quick before we close out, I found this article, and I think it can be related to Krampus, a possible Krampus experience.
All right.
This is from the vintagenews.com, and it's known as the 1855 Devil's Footprints Mystery in Devon, England. In Devon, England. Something strange happened on the cold night of February 8th, 1855, around the estuary in Devon, England. Even though it's February, but still, that winter was extremely cold. According to reports from the time, temperatures remained around freezing from January until March. The low temperatures didn't allow snow to melt, and every new snowfall just added a new layer over the terrain. These extreme weather conditions were the perfect setup for the strange events of that night. According to the few witness accounts from that time, after a heavy snowfall on the night of February 8th, 1855, mysterious hoof marks appeared all over South and East Devon. The hoof marks were reported to be around 4 inches long, 3 inches across, between 8 and 16 inches apart, and mostly in single file. Reports about these footprints came from around 30 different locations in Devon. The combined footprints had a reported length of between 40 and 100 miles. It seemed like the creature that left traces could overcome any obstacle. Footprints were found over houses, frozen rivers, haystacks, snow-covered roofs, high walls, and also inside drain pipes. Here is a part of one news report that describes the event. And I mean, this is strange reporting of the time. I mean, over haystacks, rooftops, all in like a day or two. Who the hell can do that? It's cloven hoof marks. If this isn't, to me, this is like a possible, I made the connection. I was like, if this couldn't be a possible Krampus, experience,
This is exactly it. Yeah, this is exactly what it would be like. Yeah.
The report states it appears on Thursday night there was a heavy snowfall in the neighborhood of Exeter and the south of Devon. On the following morning, the inhabitants of the above towns were surprised at discovering the footmarks of some strange and mysterious animal endowed with the power of ubiquity, as the footprints were to be seen in all kinds of unaccountable places, on the tops of houses and narrow walls and gardens and courtyards enclosed by high walls and palings, as well as open fields. The footprints appeared over a huge area from Exmouth up to Topsham, and across the estuary to Dawlish and Teignmouth. Some reports also claim prints appeared even further south to Totnes and Torquay, and as far as Weymouth, Dorset, and Lincolnshire. First-hand evidence of this event is rare. The first written accounts of this phenomenon appeared in 1950 after a collection of documents belonging to Reverend H.T. Ellacombe and Vicar I don't know that first name, Kleist St. George in the 1850s was discovered. These documents included his personal letters, some tracing to the footprints in the letter, the Illustrated London News marked not for publication. Here's the latter part. The marks which appear in the snow, which lay very thinly on the ground at the time, which were seen on Friday morning to all appearances with the perfect impression of a donkey's hoof, to the length of 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches, but instead of progressing as that animal would have done, or indeed as any other animal would have done, feet right and left, it appeared that foot had followed foot. So that kind of sounds like Krampus, trailing along there with its hoof mark. I've seen a line, the distance reached, tried being 8 inches, or rather, footmarks in every parish being having the same size, and the steps the same length.
You're really fading, Aubrey. I'm sorry, but your sound's almost gone.
Typical. Oh well. But anyhow, that was an experience from that region. It's known as the Devil's Footprints, or the Tracks of Satan, because of their shape and resemblance to a cloven hoof. Some people started to really believe the devil himself made the footprints. People were scared for some time after the event and avoided venturing outside after midnight. Since this mystery was first investigated, there has been a variety of different theories about the origin of the traces in the snow. One more recent study on this subject done by Mike Dash, a notable Welsh writer, historian, and researcher, claims that there was no single source of footprints. According to him, some of these tracks were most likely hoaxes. Most of them were probably made by quadrupeds such as donkeys and ponies, and there were also sun traces made by wood mice. Still, the end of the steady dash admits not all of the marks can be explained and allows for the mystery to continue. So yeah, I don't see how it can be that if it's hoof marks on building tops over haystacks. If it was a true report, that's a strange encounter.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've known some cryptids to actually be able to get up on people's roofs and cause problems too. Like, so there are some dogmen out there that'll jump on people's roofs. There are different cryptids that would, and then also Isaac is nodding, saying there are goat-like ones that can do it as well.
That was a goat-like creature that was had like 5 arms that they thought it was, but I don't know. It sounds like Krampus to me. I just thought it was kind of a Krampus-like creature, either or.
Krampus-like variation, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, kind of cool. It just kind of like dawned on me. I remember hearing about that like 5 years ago, and I was like, huh, that was a strange sighting story. So see if I can find it. Anyhow, you got any closing statements, a message for the holiday season you'd like to say?
Oh yeah, yeah, and like Isaac said, follow what he said, and also find, as hard as it is during this time frame, what's going on currently, with things being shut down and everything. Try to actually see that sometimes these things are cycles coming to a close from other points in the past. Sometimes new information is coming up in your way for a reason, and a new path is actually being laid out for you by benevolent source creator or by your own oversoul trying to lay out a path for you. If something isn't always quite working, that may be a cycle that is coming to a close. And in the new year, it may be something completely fresh and completely different that you're involved in that could actually be even much better than what you thought you've lost this year.
Good. And what's you got any predictions for 2021?
Yeah, I told people also around January it was going to be calmer. And then as time goes on, there might be some ups and downs with some unrest out there, but then it would start to balance out. I also said that possibly our government or somebody would come up with some other thing to actually try to scare the crap out of the people with. But then some of the people are starting to wake up at an astronomical rate, I notice, and I believe that's going to continue to do so. But I believe it's going to be 21 is going to be as bad as 2020. No, I feel it's going to start off with a calm, and then you may have some instances where they're trying to exploit the COVID thing a little while longer, create a little bit more lockdown, but then it's going to balance out, I feel.
I like that. It sounds kind of like that. When it comes to everything that's going on, it's an absolutely crazy world. And I have to say some of my predictions. I'm going to go more towards the weird and strange than political because the sky's the limit with either one of these. I really think it's a possibility that we're going to continue seeing these mysterious drone sightings that have been reported. Mm-hmm. And different UFO sightings. I believe a possible more forms of disclosure, more solid forms of disclosure is a possibility in 2021 with everything that's being seen. Like I said, possibility. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, maybe more. I believe, that surprise you're talking about, I think that there could be some mysterious creature sightings and uptick in those when it comes to the weird and strange. Mm-hmm. Whether it would be true creatures, genetically altered creatures, the stuff of nightmares that 2021 hopefully will not be made out of. But I guess leading into a closing statement, I'd have to say, everybody try to make the most out of the end of 2020. That way you can start 2021 off with a big shebang and keep that shebang going all year long and survive anything that comes your way, any hardship that comes your way, any emotion that comes your way, any good thing, any bad thing. Absolutely any problem, any amazing thing that comes your way, enjoy it or conquer it and make the most out of every situation. I hope that everybody has a fabulous and amazing holiday season. I hope you get all the gifts that you've been wanting, but most importantly, just enjoy the time that you have, not only for yourself, for your loved ones. And like I said, make the most out of each day and fly high. And we will have some amazing content for you coming into the new year. We're going to have more often more regular show coming into the new year. We're going to have some different equipment. We're going to have some different topics, and we're going to explore everything in between natural medicine, aliens, UFOs, geopolitics, nature, space, hidden treasures, missing persons cases, ancient alchemy, ancient civilizations, ancient technology, futuristic technology, AI technology, robots. We are going to cover any topic of the weird and strange, and we're going to grow our minds at superhumanistic rates and in superhumanistic ways. That way we can really unleash and learn some amazing information. That being said, everybody have a good rest of your 2020, and we will see you in 2021. Thank you for watching, and have a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy, happy New Year.
You too, everybody. You have a happy New Year, and now you have just exited the conspiracy sector. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. We didn't get to cover this. I wanted to try to squeeze this in. I didn't have time, but I see this. I don't know if this was what Mariah was talking about, but this is, will Jupiter and Saturn appear together? We're getting lots of questions in 2020 about a rumor that's floating around that the planets Jupiter and Saturn will appear as one star around the time of their great connection on December 21st. Many are heralding them as a Christmas star and comparing them to the Star of Bethlehem. It's true that Jupiter is the brightest star-like object in the evening sky now, and Jupiter and Saturn are drawing closer and closer together. On December 21st, they'll be separated by only 0.1 degree and visible from around the globe in the western twilight sky. They'll be very close, but one star. The questions go something like this. Several people have posted on Facebook an article that Jupiter and Saturn will soon align and create a Christmas star. Is this accurate? The short answer is that Jupiter and Saturn will certainly be exceedingly close and will look unusual. Many will correctly perceive them as two planets. They'll be spectacular to see, but one star. The truth is that no one alive today knows for certain what Jupiter and Saturn would look like on December 21st. That's part because this exact event, these two planets this close in this part of the sky, hasn't happened in our lifetimes. And it's also because we as a human family will be scattered across a large globe and across different time zones when we see them. They'll appear in the western sky after sunset for all of us, but that said, our exact sky conditions will vary. The height of the planets above the horizon will vary, and the planets themselves, always in motion, will appear at varying distances apart, plus our eyesight varies. A person with poor eyesight might indeed see them as a single star, while a person standing right next to them with very good eyesight might not. Atmospheric conditions in your area will also play a key role. A lot of murk near the horizon will distort your view. However, of all the above said, for the most part, the experts we asked said no, Jupiter and Saturn will not appear as a single object to the eye to a person with reasonably good eyesight. Around the time December 21st, 2020 conjunction, they simply won't be close enough. So I don't know what to think of that.
Yeah, I was told originally when the whole Star of Bethlehem was seen, where it was a similar alignment. Say, it looked like a giant, like almost like a Christmas star, and that's where they got that idea from. It's Jupiter and Saturn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
'Tis late night in Bavaria, and all through the village the grown-ups are drunk, full of beer and such swillage, while children that tremble and hide deep in their beds, fearful that Krampus will rip off their heads. Krampus, Krampus, have you any souls? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. Those who are cheaters and those who like flames, those who are naughty boys that always pass the blame.